in World War II, this country could use its news media to propagandize and make the whole American public love the Germans and the Japanese, rather love the Russians and the Chinese and hate the Germans and the Japanese. And then after the war, they changed it and made the American public love the Germans and love the Japanese, hate the Russians and hate the Chinese, which shows that they can make the American public love whom they will and hate whom they will.
Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu jami'an. Today I'd like to talk about the yin and yang of America capitalist democracy. And some might be confused about this expression, what is meant by the yin and yang of American capitalist democracy. Yin and yang has a meaning of two opposites. Some people in the Western world also translate yang as being white and yin as being black. I use it today for this particular title of this video pertaining to U.S., those who are empowered, and the skin color of the people in power, and those people who live under their rule. Some of us, we look into American policies within the United States, and we look at the treatment of whites, how it differs from the treatments of non-whites, and in particular blacks. And as the shade of the non-Europeans differ from lighter tones to darker tones, that we find that when you get to the darker tone people, as in black people, that their mistreatment is very different from the treatment of whites and those who look similar, those non-whites who look similar to white peoples. When we look in American social structure, from its laws, its legal system, and from its real roots and origin pertaining to the Constitution of America, and we look at the history of the Constitution of the United States of America, that you will find that the Constitution was made by whites for whites. The Constitution of the United States was made for whites by whites, and never did it intend to deal with non-Europeans, except for particular natives through treaties. For example, when they said that all man is created equal, that they didn't mean blacks, Africans, descendants, neither did they mean or intended natives of America. So we look into today's modern history in the United States and its government, even though the Constitution has been modified over years, over decades, it has been modified, but we still find black people at the end of the law. We still find black people in the United States at the end of the law, meaning on the negative side of the law, meaning that the legal system doesn't stand for black peoples. And we see that the legal system, it always stands and defends whites, even when they are the criminal in the case. And I want to use an example of Atlanta shooting of a group of spas, massage parlors by a white person. And we can see in the news that this white person, that they're already, the media and the law enforcement are already taking the murderer side of the story, as he killed a dozen of peoples, or close to a dozen of peoples, in two different incidents, majority being Asian. He is saying that he killed these peoples who are majority Asian because of a sex addiction or attraction that he had for, I guess, these particular places or particular women. and their death and their murder and the killings of these Asians, it shows that the law enforcement on their end, they're taking the account of the killers, his testimony, to discredit people who are saying that his motive is hate. This is a hate crime. His motive is attacking Asians. And I want to make this video about Asians because black people, we have our own causes. We don't really have time to fight for other people's causes. But I want to use it for an opportunity and a chance to show people of white policies, white laws, white law enforcement, white privilege, white American system that it stands and defends whites no matter what is their condition, especially when its verses or its faces of the victims are non-whites. Now I want to go back into my title, the yin and yang of American politics, the yin and yang of American capitalist version of democracy within the United States. And what I mean by this, I don't mean the original meaning of yin and yang according to Buddhist or Oriental beliefs. When I say about yin and yang of American capital politics, meaning that there's one power structure, and that power structure within the United States is a white power structure. And blacks in America, despite what they fight for or they stand for, if they understand the system or the capitalist system, that there always will be a underdog. There always will be somebody to hate. There always will be somebody in the mainstream that white people must take out their anger on. It's like the yin and yang, right? You can't have one without the other. And this is why I titled the yin and yang of American capitalist democracy. In this system, in society we live in, you cannot separate or you cannot remove the hatred for blacks. It's part of the existence of this country. And if it does not exist, which it must exist, if it does not exist, whites will never exist as a unified class or group of people in this power structure. So there always, in every society, if you look at it, it always has to be the negative or the downtrodden of a group of peoples in society. No matter where we look in society, there always is a group of peoples who have to be on the lower end. For example, if you look in Germany, you look at Jews, the Hitler and Jews were at that lower end, right? If we look in other societies in history, there always was a group of peoples that particular society hated, and they had to show their hatred, and their hatred united their peoples. So in United States, blacks, this is what blacks are. This is who we are in this country. And black people seem not to understand this. Black Americans in particular seem not to understand this. That as long as the United States government, this white supremacist society exists, that black people will always be on the bottom. This is how it goes. This is how the system is. And like I said, you look in any society during history, there always was a group of peoples that the people hated. And the hate was always used for a political means to empower one group over the next group. If in the United States there was no black hatred, what you would see with whites, if there's no black hatred in the United States, then you will see whites going after each other, whites attacking other whites. So within the society we live in today, to keep white privilege and power, that hatred has to always be against non-whites. That hatred must always must be against non-whites, and this is how they keep themselves in power, and this is how they keep black people at the level that they want to keep them, or at the bottom. This is how it's being used. It is a tactic. It's a political tactic. It's an empowerment tactic. For example, I'll give you another example. When the U.S. government wanted to invade Iraq and Afghanistan, and the only reason why the U.S. government went to Iraq has nothing to do with September 11, has nothing to do with Osama bin Laden. He's not Iraqi. He is Yemeni, or he is from Saudi, and his mother was Yemeni. The reason why the United States went to Iraq, it was based on finance, gas, oil money. It was based upon resources, and it's based upon having the strong grip on particular resources in particular countries. So in the United States government, for the government to perform this act, what it had to do, it had to give the image to the American peoples, who children were the soldiers in this military. It had to make an enemy, and it had to show, for example, in this example, the Muslims being an enemy by giving the images that Muslims are terrorists overseas. All Muslims overseas want to see the end of America. And myself, who lived in the Muslim world, in particular the Arabic-speaking world, all of them would sell their mama to come to America. I say it again. All of them would sell their mama to come to America for the opportunities to make money. But in the United States, they have to feed that image to white peoples who children, who themselves, their children, were the soldiers of the military. And they know that once these soldiers go over there, the U.S. government knew that a lot of them were going to die in the name of getting these people's resources. So America had to take that hatred, that lingers for blacks, and took that hatred and portrayed the enemies being the Muslims, who most American peoples will probably never met, especially white people from down south will probably never met a Muslim, probably never had any dealings with Muslims themselves, all right? Especially in those white belt states, those Bible belt states, those KKK states, right? So, because what happened in the U.S., the government fed this image. How did it feed this image? It fed the image through media, news, through all forms of propaganda, by also tactics of using terrorists in the United States, allowing things to happen in the United States, allowing the 9/11 to happen, allowing the World Trade Centers to be bombed, allowing certain events to happen, paying informants, paying people to blow up things, or to get caught blowing up things or plotting things, and plastering these things all over the media. So these same tactics were used, a hatred, to feed the hatred. And when white people had this hatred for the Muslims, then the U.S. government took this and did whatever they wanted to do over there. And no matter how many soldiers, American soldiers, came back dead, as long as the whites had this hatred for Muslim, they were seeing it no wrong. They were seeing only their son died for a just cause, ridding the world of these terrorists who wants to kill American peoples. All right. So within the United States, this tactic was nothing new. This is the same tactic that was used against blacks. All right. It's the same tactics was used against blacks, and how these tactics were used against blacks since slavery and the ending of slavery. Right. I was listening to one scholar, and she was speaking about, when did lynching start in America? She said lynching started in America after slavery. And why did lynching start? Because the white men feared that the black people being free, that they're going to seek their revenge for what the white man did to them in slavery. So what the white people do? They lynch black peoples. They brought their children there. And many lynchings of pictures in America of black people being lynched, you see white people there with their children. So this is part of American system. This is the yin and yang of American system. As black peoples, we don't understand that for this country to exist, it must always hate somebody. It must hate somebody within the United States, and it must have an enemy outside of the United States to hate. It must have an enemy inside the United States to hate, and it must have an enemy from outside to hate. Within the United States, that enemy that they hate to keep the power structure going is blacks. That's why American legal system is all against blacks. This is why blacks are the majority in prison. When it comes to financial, blacks are the lowest, have the lessest resources or tangible resources in America. Right? Some probably might say, well, that might be the black people not having these things might be a sign of intellectual. Maybe they don't have the intellect to do these things, or maybe they don't have the intellect as a group of peoples to do these things as a group of peoples. And we can say that is not true. All these things are by design. While the white people, the average of white American citizen, they have to have this hatred towards black, which is pushed through other mediums. The purpose of this hatred for the average white person, especially the white person who's not in government, is that while they're hating these peoples, while they're hating blacks, or they're hating peoples outside of U.S., or they're hating Chinese or Asian, or showing their hatred against Chinese, or showing their hatred against blacks, or showing their hatred against any other minority group that is not white, while they hate these peoples and putting the effort towards this hate, it allows the government also to do whatever they want to do. And it allows the white people also, when the government is ready to do certain things against certain groups of peoples, in particular black people or non-white peoples, that for sure they have the consent of the white public. I say it again, for sure they will have the consent of the white public. All right. What we see today, the Republicans against the Democratic related to Trump, right? The Dems and the Republicans, Democrats and Republicans, only clash that you really see, what the average black person don't see, the clash between the Democrats and the Republicans is they're only clashing about how to rid the United States of blacks. The Democrats have one philosophy or one school of thought, and the Republicans have another school of thought, philosophy on how to rid America of its white problem, of its black problem. The Republican wants to lynch, murder them, kill them, financially starve them out, basically, right? They want harder laws against them. They want to see more of them in prison. They want to see more private prisons. They want to see harsher laws. They want to see more police on street. They want to see police attacking more of black peoples. That's why most of the Trump followers or Republicans have no problems with the killings of George Floyd, the killing of George Floyd. A lot of white people saying, and you can see this through the jury selection for the trial. A lot of the juries who are white are saying that George Floyd if he listened to the police officer, he would be alive today. Meaning that they are okaying what the police officer did to him by putting his knee on his neck, right? The whites always have to have an enemy in this country, and it always have to be a non-white person. Must always be. And it will always be that way unless black people do certain things, right? So the Republicans and the Democrats, they are from the same school of thought, but they have different principles or different mediums of how to rid of the black issues. The Republicans want harsher prison time, right? That's why Trump would say that he's a man for the law, right? He's law and order, right? They want harsher prison time for blacks. They want less funds in public school. They want to get rid of affirmative action. They want less minorities to enter into the country through migration, right? They want what? What else do they want? They want more gun laws, more gun laws. What else they want? They want many other things, right? They want to get rid of the black problems, right? They want to be more segregated, right? What the Democrats want. Democrats want the same thing, but the Democrats just have another medium. They have another philosophy on how to get rid of the black problem. And their philosophy how to get rid of the black problem in the United States is what? Push LBGQT. Push that instead. Let's push that. What that means, LBGQT, that means that, oh, that's another form of birth control. All right? So black people will stop what? They will stop what? They will start reproducing. Right? What else do Republicans want? They want more easy, convenient laws to women to easily to abort their children, and the parenthood, and they want to push that what in the black community, right? Tell them abort the babies, right? Push LBGQ, right? Because 2 gay men can't have children, 2 gay women can't have children. What else? What else they want to do? The Democrats have another plan, right? They have another method of getting rid of the black problem, right? Let them go to prison. Give them a longer prison time, right? Let's give them longer prison time. Let's give them police reform. But as we give them police reform, we give them longer prison time, all right? Longer prison time. Oh, instead of them locking up for weed, lock them up for smoking weed. Just don't lock them up for smoking weed. Matter of fact, let's profit off of the selling of weed. And let's flood their community, which is already in poverty, which is already suffering financially, mentally, emotionally, and financially. That is what suffering. Let's push more drugs inside. They have alcohol. Now let's legalize weed. So the white man can make a profit, and at the same time, the black people using them will be majority black. They're gonna what? Destroy themselves, put themselves further into destruction, which is going to be a long-term effect of destruction. That's going to hurt themselves, their family, and their children. You know, as Muslims, you know, you understand in Islam that drugs, these things are forbidden, right? And in the Muslim countries, many Muslim countries, if you get caught smuggling drugs or making drugs in some Muslim countries, they execute you, they kill you. Why? Because the drugs destroy not just the person. All the drugs destroy the whole society, destroy that person's family members, that person's children, right? It affects the whole family, destroys the whole family, right? It brings corruption to the whole family. Look at the guy who killed his daughter and her mother over the stimulus check, right? The guy probably had mental health issues, and he probably is on drugs, right? Most likely he's on somebody on drugs, right? Most likely, see his picture, he needed that money to go what? Buy drugs with. Probably had an addiction and being a beta male, right? This is the tactics that the Democrats, they want this type of behavior from blacks. They know how to push the right buttons without using white men wearing white sheets, right? So the Democrats have a different method than the Republican, right? The Democrats don't want to use the Republicans' method, which is the Klan, right? The Klan and the Nazi, right? The Democrats like, yeah, we could be Nazi, we could be a racist, but there's a way to be racist where the people you're trying to eradicate don't know that you're being racist towards them, right? Using the psyche or the conjugative mind to how to destroy and attack the enemy, right? But blacks, we're not really there yet, right? Only a few of us are there. Many blacks, we are caught up in their webs, right? Many us in America, black people in America, we're already caught up in their web of destruction. Many of us are in the web and don't know it, right? Many of us are caught up in the web. How we caught up in the web? We're caught up in their web by many ways, by many mediums. You're caught up in the web. If you have a college degree, You owe a debt, right? So you caught up financially in the web, right? You're in debt to pay off that college loan, right? You caught up, right? If you're into drugs, right, you're caught up in their web. If you have a drug addiction or you sell drugs, in particular you selling drugs within your community, you're caught in their web to destroy black people. You're in their web. If you're in the music industry, in the rap industry, you are in the web, right? You're in their web where you're also bringing victims to the web, right? Right? If you're selling drugs, you're bringing victims to the web, right? You're destroying everybody. You're bringing everybody into that zone, or that web zone where everybody's going to be destroyed. So, at the end of the day, if you're black and you're not aware of these things, most likely you might be part of the problem, or you might be the one who's also spreading these false and destructive behaviors within the black community. That's like I said, the yin and yang of American capitalism, you know? The yin and yang of the American capitalism is whites against blacks. And the only thing black people need to do is we need to stand our ground, but we can't stand our ground if we don't know that we are in a fight. Especially if we don't understand and see the tactics of the people who are in opposition to blacks. If we can't see their tactics, then we don't know what to defend ourselves. We don't know how to fight. I know. We don't know how to defend ourselves. If we don't understand how they are fighting, then we don't know how to defend ourselves. And that's why many blacks, we are the victims of their tactics. We're in their web. If you're black and you're locked up in prison, you got caught in the white man's web. This trap. If you're selling drugs, you're black and you're selling drugs, you caught up in the white man's web. And most likely you're selling drugs to black peoples. You don't notice when black people start selling a lot of drugs and making money, and most of the drugs they're selling is to white peoples. You don't notice that when it's white, they get caught real quick. When they're selling drugs to black, they're in and out of jail. Police not really bother with them. They do their job, but they're in and out of jail. The jail system is like a revolving door for them, right? But if let them get caught out there selling drugs to white people, see what happened. All right, let them get caught up there selling drugs to white folks and see how much time they do in prison and might not never come out. All right, so it's that web system. It's like the web, and you trap on it. But some of us, we on the web and we're attracting more of our peoples onto the web. We are calling them to the web to be entrapped just like us, like the crab in the barrel, because we don't understand the system of how the white man live and do. You don't need to go to college to understand the white man system. All right? In America. You don't need to go to college. All you need to do is sit down and observe. All right? Open your mind. Sit down and observe. Be a thinker. Be attached to your environment. Look at your environment. Look in the environment you live in. And you have to say to yourself, an environment you live in, is this by chance or by design? And most likely, if you look in your environment of your peoples and your condition you are in, it is not by chance. Majority is by what? Choice. By design. By the white man's design. Right? If you live in an area and you're black and there's no white people living in your area, and the only white people you see who come through your area is police, that is by design. All right? That is by design. If you live in an area and it's all black and you see nobody white living there, but only white people you see there, either it's police, EMT, or the mailman, then that's by design. That is by design. If your kids go to a school in an all-black area and the school is not doing good, then that's not by chance. That's not because black people are ignorant. There's something intellectually wrong with them. No, that is by design. That's why I say in New York State, and they say in New York State in the 5 boroughs that New York schools are the most segregated schools. Why? Because white people live in certain areas, right? And black people live in certain areas, and other minority live in certain areas, and they don't live together, right? So the school, like in Manhattan, here in New York, in Manhattan, for example, because I lived in Manhattan for a while, I notice my kids are going to school. Literally in Manhattan, you go somewhere in Manhattan, on one block will be projects, and literally, right across the street, literally across the street, be rich white folks, right? Rich white folks. But you will notice when your kids go to school, you don't see none of them white kids in the classroom. And the white people live for literally across the street from you. But when your kids go to school, you don't see no white kids in the school. Matter of fact, they have it so now in Manhattan that some of the public schools in the black neighborhoods, that the next door across the street are rich white peoples, they're going to the black public schools and making inside the black public schools that across the street are white folks, they're putting charter schools in the public schools. And you look in the charter school, majority of the kids in the charter school are white kids. So they're even taking over some of the public school that majority of the black kids are going to, which the education in the same school is garbage, but they put in charter schools inside these schools, and there's majority white kids in there, and they get a different education. They're in the same building, and they have two different groups of people getting two different educations. That's how brave white man is with his racism, right? He even bring it to where you at, right? So even in Manhattan where I live, you can see the racism. These things are by design, right? But most of black folks, most of us, we're in the web and we can't see. We're tangled in the web. If you caught up to listen to hip hop music, best believe you caught up in the web. If you're working hard to pay off your student's loan, best believe you caught it in the web. If you don't think there's nothing going on, there's a fair chance and everything, man, you caught up in the web. Everybody, all black folks in some form of fashion, they are caught up in the web. But you know who's not caught up in the web? White folks are not caught up in the web with us. Let me say it again. White man is not caught up in the web with us. White people are not in the web with us. You notice that. And other minority groups are not in the web with us. Asian people are not caught up in the web with us. Even though people are attacking Asians right now in the U.S., but you notice Asian people are not in the web with us. They're not in the neighborhoods with us. They don't live with us. They don't spend money with us. Matter of fact, if they're in our area, it's most likely they own a business there and they taking money from you. So they're not in the web. Matter yet, they're this part of the system that is oppressing you. They're part of the system that's oppressing you. It's just you don't know it. They know it. They know it. It's just they don't care. They're here just to make money. You know? Like I said, the yin and yang of American capitalist democracy. The Negroes will always be the yang. They'll always be the yang, the negative side, the dark side, the black side. And it must exist. This hate must exist. You never sat down and thought? Let's sit down and think, man. Put the thinking cap on. Come on, just chill out, man. You know, put the thinking cap on. Sit back and relax. Why now they're attacking Asians now? Come on, sit back and put your thinking caps on, man. You know, when I be talking sometimes, man, my brain just be flowing, the blood be flowing. You gotta ask yourself, why now they're attacking a lot of Asian peoples? Come on, man. I got at least two people in here following me. Just ask yourself, why now there's a large attack on Asian peoples? Can somebody tell me why? Right here? Why? Just think about it. The reason why that they're attacking Asian peoples right now is because black people are making a lot of noise. The death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Black Lives Matter, protesting. So black people are making a lot of noise right now. So the white man, he's virtual signaling with black folks, right? He's not going to make changes for the black people, but he's virtual signaling. So in the media, everybody's virtual signaling for black folks, right? Oh, we with you, we feel your sorrow. But they're not trying to change anything, right? So since now black people in the media, we're getting a lot of coverage of our issues and our experience of racism in America. Oh, some white people, they see, oh, they can't talk about black folks too much. Because right now, in American policies, the Democrats, they're virtual signaling with black folks. They're eradicating black people's issues by virtual signaling with them. So the white man gotta take his hatred on somebody else for temporarily. White man gotta take his hatred. That hatred got to go to somebody else right now. That's why they attacking Asian people, because that hatred, it gotta go to somebody else. So what you seeing what's going on with the Asian community right now? It's only temporarily. It's only temporarily, unless black folks get their stuff together and unite. See, if black men unite and get their stuff together, and we unite and we build back our communities, we rid of these cultural behaviors that do not benefit blacks, and we come together and we're united and we have a financial plan. We have a plan. We're trying to remove certain things in our communities and replace it with positive things, right? If we stand together strong, right, and use the incidents that happened with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and we use these incidents to come together and bring our finances together and bring our like mind together and bring our intellect together for the betterment of our peoples, then maybe we won't be a permanent underdog. Then that hatred have to go to somebody else. Might go to Asians. The hatred might move from blacks and move to Asians, right? Or might move from Asians and go to Latinos. You never know, right? But for right now, I would say we're at that permanent bottom level.